This is exactly what Bruins fans wanted to hear at this point in the offseason, as a recent Athletic article has come out ranking James Hagens in a crazy spot among his peers, with former draft picks also being in the mix. You're going to want to stick around for that, as well as we were absolutely robbed by this Boston Bruins team. You're going to want to stick around to the end to get what we have there, because I was so mad at the Boston Bruins earlier today. We got to break it down here all in this video. Before we do jump into it though, ladies and gentlemen, we have to get to 8K. That's the goal, and we have a lot of stuff coming. You won't want to miss it, and I'm doing you a favor by bringing you the news. Do me a favor by hitting that sub button. As you mentioned, we're on the road to 8K. Just about a third of the way there, and your support's been absolutely incredible as of late. We appreciate everybody watching these videos all throughout this season and the offseason. We have no signs of slowing down, but let's get straight into this report. Now, I want to pull up first the article by Scott Wheeler and The Athletic. This is what he had to say on James Hagens. Hagens profiles as a top of the lineup play-creating center in the NHL with a similar profile to Utah's Logan Cooley. I remain a big believer in him and his game. I expect him to be one of the top forwards in college hockey as a sophomore and outperform his draft slot in his career. Now, this is some very high praise from Scott Wheeler here, who is a very big prospect guy for The Athletic, as well as just great hockey knowledge. And I do recommend going to check out this Athletic article if you do have a subscription. I will put it in the description down below, so be sure to check that out. But I want to pull that out there before we put up his rankings, because there are some names that he's in front of that a lot of people that were not Bruins fans were not very happy with. Now, jumping into this, though, James Hagens ranks as the first Tier 2 player in this 100 prospect list. Now, having him at number 8, there are the obvious ones ahead of him. Michael Misa, and Matthew Schaefer, 1 and 2 picks, obviously, and a few others from the previous few drafts. So this ranking is of 100 players who have been drafted and are still considered prospects. So having James Hagens at 8, where his draft projection from this season was at 7, comparing that to over the past few years, this immediately looks exactly what we want to see on paper. Now, you're probably wondering, who is below him in this rankings? I do have a little list here of those players. Porter Martone, Anton Frondel, Caleb Desnoyers, Caden Lindstrom, Beckett Seneca, and Berkeley Catton, just to name a few. And of course, I didn't want to put 92 others there, but there are 92 other players there that are behind James Hagens in this case. I think that this list right here is one that I wanted to pull up mainly because as we do take a look at the players that were, first of all, around him in the draft, Anton Frondel, Caleb Desnoyers drafted ahead of him, Porter Martone as well. There's a whole lot of options here that the Bruins had to go, and kind of work around, and they definitely fell into a bit of luck there with James Hagens dropping to them as well, but having them ahead of guys like Caden Lindstrom, Beckett Seneca, and Berkeley Catton, a few previous draft players who are all supposed to be, these top-tier talents so far in the NHL. Of course, some stuff has limited their appearances. Of course, Caden Lindstrom, the back injury, wasn't great for him, but having James Hagens in front of these players, plus more, it just goes to show how much of a drop that he got in this draft. Of course, he was supposed to go first overall, and I think that having this come out from Scott Wheeler is something that a lot of people are really going to acknowledge and really kind of take into consideration now. And we know Scott Wheeler, as I mentioned, is the draft guy, is the prospect guy for The Athletic. He knows what he's talking about much more than some of these other writers, and I'm very happy to see this here. And a lot of people were very, very pleased to see him in front of some of those names I just mentioned, plus more. Now, of course, coming into it, we have another one here from NHL Foley on Twitter. Once again, go check these out. Some very good graphs. And when we do take a look at James Hagens' advanced analytics, and something I want to pull up here that we're going to touch on in a minute, is his production throughout the years. You're seeing his 80% scoring, an 86 percentile generation, 53 on defense, not really a defensive guy, but at 78 transition, plus more down there on the bottom. You can see all the little ones, but the ones I wanted to focus on are the offense over the past few years. And you saw first year with the USHL going into his second year, a major jump in both offense and defense. Number 1 forward ranking there, and the 4th ranked forward this year in the NCAA. You take a look at the percentile this year, 88% on offense, 52 on defense. We're expecting this to take another jump. And as Scott Wheeler said, he's expecting this to be, one of the better seasons for not just him, but in the NCAA. And we're expecting that as well, especially after the way he's reacted to a lot of people passing on to the draft, the way that his reaction was when a lot of these other players were getting taken ahead of him. Of course, as I mentioned, number 1 previous overall before the start of the season, dropped down to 8 and was projected before the draft from everybody else apart from Craig Button, excuse me, and Bob McKenzie. I couldn't remember his name then. Above 7 and 8. So you're seeing him drop to this point. We're expecting another boost in season, as has happened every year throughout his career so far. And he's also mentioned he's put on weight. I believe he said he's 191 now and at 5'11". Already exactly what we want to see with him. He's already taking steps to that. And of course, it's still undetermined whether or not he will take an extra season with the Boston College. I think we expect that to happen. I think we all hope that to happen as well. And that will be another big step in his development instead of rushing him to the NHL. And also, that's what Don Sweeney has said in this case, that he's not taking any risks. He's putting him where he wants to be and where he should be down in Boston College for one more season. Now, of course, taking a look at James Hagens' stats as well, you've seen that trend there. You go from U.S. National Development Program and the USHL. First season, 40 points in 31 games. Second season, 47 to 26. A big jump there before heading to Boston College. And then 37 and 37 last year. I think a lot of people expected him to take another jump from the USHL, but that's a very big ask for a guy who, last year, coming into his first year in the NCAA, was not going to take that big of a jump from 47 points in 26 games to what it would have been, 30 or 60 points in 37 games. That's just unreasonable to ask at his first production season, but this season, we're going to see a much better James Hagens, which is already crazy enough to say because of how good he already is. And I'm just excited to see where this goes. But obviously, this is an excellent sign from the Athletic here, putting him at 8th overall. And once again, go check it out in the comments below because it's definitely one that a lot of people are going to be very interested in when it comes down to it, even you hockey heads when it comes down to anything outside of the Bruins. A lot of players in this are kind of intriguing to see where they are ranked here from Scott Wheeler. And I do have one more note before we do move on here in this video coming out from David Pastrnak of the fourth period, According to David Pastrnak, the New York Islanders called a mammoth in trading for the 4th overall pick in the draft to target James Hagens. The reported asking price, a deal surrounding Matt Barzal, something the Islanders were not interested in doing, according to Pastrnak, on the Seacrest and Price podcast. So, once again, kind of going back to the idea where the Bruins could have traded, Matt Barzal was the one that I really wanted in that deal and was the only one that I probably would have traded the 7th overall pick. And now we get a good idea that this would not have been done by the New York Islanders. So, it works out a lot in our favor. Not just luck, but also kind of the Islanders not willing to trade Matt Barzal is another big piece in how James Hagens dropped to number 7. So I'm still ecstatic about this pick after, a couple weeks after the pick in the draft. And I think we move on now and really get to see the James Hagens that we all expected to see this season. And the further he develops, it's going to be the better for the Bruins. But we do need to move on. Now, this morning I was not too happy with the Boston Bruins after what they had done to me while I was getting ready, getting awake, starting your day. You want to start off on a good foot, and I thought the Boston Bruins had done that to me. They tweeted this out. Trade alert. Sean Kuraly has acquired the jersey number 52 from Andrew Peeke. Terms of the deal were not disclosed. Now, when you have notifications on for the Bruins Twitter, of course, all you see is 2 big signers and trade alert. I got a bit excited. We've been talking about a trade for the past, couple weeks now, and going over the Bruins potentially being the next team to make a deal in the NHL in this offseason. Get something done. Get a second-line winger. I thought we had it done. Ladies and gentlemen, I thought it was over. Thought we had it done. I thought the season was off to a great start. I thought we were going to win the Cup next year. That's not, in fact, the case at all, as the Bruins really just kind of left me out to dry here, going out and having Sean Kuraly acquire Andrew Peeke's jersey. Now, for those who are interested, all jokes aside, the jerseys were announced for the newest additions to the Boston Bruins. Arvidsson 71, Blumel 13, Mike Yasemon 81, Jordan Harris. You can read them, you can see them there. A lot of players getting the same numbers they've had throughout their careers, and of course the few changes there. But it's going to be a very interesting one for the Boston Bruins, as of course they do come down to a bunch of new players, a bunch of new additions, and just some players that are kind of cracking in this lineup. Get to see where they kind of stand, and just kind of wants to know, I guess we can say, when you're coming down to it. And when we do reach the preseason, which of course is still a little while away, and I hate to say how much it is away and a little while away, but we have to expect these guys to get ready as soon as possible. They know that they're not going to be given a shot on the ice. They're still going to have to work for it. They're still going to have to go for it and actually try to make this team. And we do have so many young players that I don't think any spot is guaranteed. And the fact that we're getting these guys coming in here, it's just going to be an exciting watch. And once again, kind of interesting to see where it comes down to it with how many bottom 6 players we have, and also if any trades will go down to free up a bit of space down there and cause a little bit of a relief for a few players and clearing up some more room for the Bruins. And I do want to pull this up because if you are watching, whoever did this on the social media for the Boston Bruins, of this list, you know who you are. You caused me a very, very hectic morning, which I thought we had a major move going down, but, all jokes aside, It was a very interesting morning for the Bruins, especially with that tweet. Got a bit of flack on that, the Bruins account did, but it is what it is. It's the offseason. We got to have a joke around, lighten up the mood, of course. It's going to be a very interesting time for the Bruins. We know we have a move coming. They may have seen something that we don't know. But that is all I have in this video. If you did enjoy it, give it a like, hit the sub button as well. But I'm signing out. Let me know what you think in the comments below about all the stuff we had to touch here on in this video, especially James Hagens. I think that's one a lot of people are going to be very excited about. But as I mentioned, that's all I got. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day. See you later.